This is Daily Armenia, СивиЛNeT's daily news digest. Here's what you need to know today. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdoğan expressed Ankara's hopes yesterday that Armenia and Azerbaijan will sign a normalization agreement and establish peace. We want to see this reconciliation as soon as possible. In the meetings with the Armenian Prime Minister, we see that positive steps are being taken in this direction. My brother Ilham Aliyev said in meetings with me that he is also a supporter of positive steps. Erdoğan said yesterday at a press conference with French President Emmanuel Macron on the sidelines of this year's NATO summit in Washington. When asked if he expects a deal to be reached this year, Erdoğan answered, "Ilham Aliyev will decide, not me. It is our wish that it be signed and peace established between Armenia and Azerbaijan." Continuing, Erdoğan decried growing Armenian-French cooperation in the field of defense, condemning France as a member of the European Union for actively arming Armenia and pursuing a revanchist policy. For his part, Macron reaffirmed Paris's support for ongoing negotiations between Armenia and Azerbaijan, which he said can open a new page for the region, according to a release from his office. Dozens of Armenians from Nagorno-Karabakh protested in front of the government building in Yerevan's central Republic Square yesterday, urging officials to help repatriate the bodies of soldiers killed in Azerbaijani attacks last September and buried in Nagorno-Karabakh. Among the protesters were the relatives of those killed, as well as family members of those who went missing in the conflict and remain unaccounted for to this day. "We buried him in a Stepanakert mass grave," Borya Arzumanyan told Radio Azaduchun, RFE-RL's Armenian service, referring to his son who was killed in action last September. "We have asked various people but haven't achieved any results. Our last hope is that the Armenian government will intervene so that we exhume our boys and bring them to Armenia." Several protesters were eventually let into the building, only to be directed to make their appeal in writing. The helplessness described by the protesters is not groundless. Some protesters reportedly reached out to the international community of the Red Cross in Armenia for help, but the organization's spokeswoman, Zara Amatuni, told Azaduchun that the ICRC would only be able to assist after a political agreement with Azerbaijan is reached. According to Armenia's Investigative Committee, at least 198 soldiers and 25 civilian residents of Nagorno-Karabakh were killed during the 24-hour attack, which led to the collapse of the local administration and the forced displacement of nearly all the region's Armenians. There is no publicly available information showing that the issue of exhumation and reburial has been raised during the Armenia-Azerbaijan normalization talks. Sargis Galstyan, who served in a number of senior government positions in Artsakh from 2018 to 2023, also spied for Azerbaijan under the codename Sarkhan since the end of the 2020 war, according to a press release yesterday from Armenia's Investigative Committee. Being informed about the military situation prevailing in Artsakh and the population's socio-psychological condition, in November 2020, Galstyan established contact with a person who was an employee of the Special Intelligence Service of Azerbaijan. Having received an assignment from the latter to perform espionage, he agreed, thus being recruited by an employee of the Special Intelligence Service of a foreign state, after which he received the codename Sarkhan, the report said. The report alleges that since 2020, Galstyan provided Azerbaijan's special services with a range of information about the Artsakh population, the positions of the Armenian and Artsakh authorities regarding negotiations, and details on the possibility of resistance to an armed attack. As the rest of the population fled Azerbaijan's offensive last September, Galstyan and his wife were among the very few Armenians to remain behind in Nagorno-Karabakh, where, the report says, he continued his informant activities. In March, Galstyan left for Armenia with the assistance of the International Committee of the Red Cross, but was immediately arrested upon crossing into Armenia, where he was charged with espionage and detained. The report has been forwarded to the Prosecutor General's office pending legal proceedings. Galstyan denies the allegations. Rashid Beglaryan, one of the 23 Armenian servicemen and civilians confirmed to be in Azerbaijan's custody, was sentenced today by an Azerbaijani court to 15 years in prison. He was found guilty of participating in the killing of Azerbaijanis in the town of Khojali in February 1992 during the First Nagorno-Karabakh War. Beglaryan was captured during Azerbaijan's 9-month blockade of Nagorno-Karabakh last August, when he left the village of Hin Shen in still unclear circumstances. Among the other Armenian prisoners are former Artsakh officials, including philanthropist Ruben Vardanyan. Armenian sources, including former prisoners, assert that Azerbaijan is holding more captives than it publicly admits. There was no immediate reaction from Yerevan, and there were no public indications Beglaryan plans to appeal. And finally, the CivilNet number of the day is 2,600,000. That's because yesterday CivilNet revealed that the Armenian government is buying 49 Volvo electric cars for a total of $2.6 million. The government did not answer why the cars are needed or what they will be replacing. And as always, please follow CivilNet for the latest news and independent reporting from our contributors on the ground here in Armenia.